Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Vitamin C Show. Today, I am here with my boss, Darius, but he also does film-related content. If you want to go ahead and plug, desensitized.
Yeah, hello, my name is Darius Cook. I have a YouTube channel called Desensitized. It's just how you spell desensitized, but there's no E after the D. So it's Desensitized. Gabby actually came up with the name. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to find though. So
Yes, that's true. But on our YouTube channel, we celebrate fandoms of all shapes and sizes. So that can be anime, animation, movies, TV shows, Survivor, pretty much any fandom that you can celebrate. That's the space where we come to do that.
what's the main topic of your videos?
I'd say we mainly do anime.
Okay.
That is kind of my sweet spot. I consume a lot of anime, and so most of our videos are around anime and animation. But we also talk about general topics and some movies and whatnot on there as well.
Now, the reason why this is relevant is because today's episode is going to be all about film and entertainment, some of our hot takes regarding that, and just what we mainly see happening in the film industry. So, with that being said, my first question for Mr. Darius is how and when did you get into film and just like having a passion for it?
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I've always liked movies since I was a kid. I will say the first like memory I have around going to the movies is watching Shark Boy and Lava Girl in 3D. I'm sure it wasn't
3D?
my
Wait, it was in theater?
yes. Shark Boy and Lava Girl is definitely in theaters. Yes, this is where our age gap is
Yeah,
showing.
I
Because
never had that privilege.
yes, I definitely wasn't the first movie I ever saw, but that's my first big memory around going to the movies. I think it was around my birthday. I got to bring a few of my friends, and it was the first movie I saw in 3D. That's for sure. It was awesome.
And now, like, going back to it, like, I see certain clips of it, and it's just like it's hard to think that the graphics were that bad.
Oh, it's
It
so
was
bad to look back
really
at. It's
bad.
ridiculous. I do remember in theaters at the time feeling like this is insane that they brought this life. Like this is the dream world made on TV screen. That was an awesome experience. I will say what really got me into film, like outside of just being a kid enjoying movies. The first time I went to see a movie by myself, I was 18 years old. It was on my birthday, and I went to see just any movie that was showing, and it was called Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. That was my first like indie film, artsy fartsy movie I'd ever seen, and I think that got me into like looking at films on a deeper level.
What was it about?
It's a really messed up story. I'm sure you want to know.
Yeah, I actually do.
So Peter Dinklage is in it actually
Okay.
from Game of Thrones. It's about basically a mom's daughter is assaulted and killed
Okay.
in like a brutal way. There's like a sexual assault nature to it as well, and she's doing everything in her power to bring that person to justice. But they live in a small town where justice isn't often served. So it's kind of her journey to bring the perpetrator to justice somehow, and the whole family's journey of moving on from that kind of grief and hurt.
Is
It's
it
heavy.
yeah, what genre is it?
Oh,
Or
it's
would you
definitely a
say-
drama. Or what genre?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a heavy genre. I keep saying genre for drama. It's a heavy drama. It'll make you cry and it'll hurt your heart for sure.
And then how did you find out about the film? Because you said it was like a low key, like it wasn't like a really commercialized film, right?
Yeah, I had never seen a trailer for it. I literally looked up movies near me and saw the next movie showing that day, and then drove over and watched it right away. Hadn't seen a trailer, hadn't seen anything, just watched it on pure trust.
Okay. I mean, this is a person that like he does he tries a lot of things by himself, and like I'm trying to get into that space of doing so with my first concert, but I don't think I've actually ever watched a movie by myself. Actually, now that I think about it, so the next topic we're going to talk about is actually one that I really like. Is about the role of music and sound in film. And the reason I wanted to talk about this was because I personally feel like the right or wrong music can make or break a scene. And I don't know about you, but for me, visual antics don't really get me as much as the sound does. So like you could have a really heartbreaking scene, and they do this sometimes where they have like a really dramatic or heartbreaking scene. Guardians of the Galaxy does this, and then they play a funny song or like a fun song. It seems much more lighthearted, but take Game of Thrones, Reigns of Castamere, like
Mm.
that shit was like a stab in the heart. Like I feel like I don't know. For me, it affects me a lot when I watch a film. Is that
No, I do think that music and soundtrack in movies is the most important thing, and it's one of those things where if it's done really well, you probably aren't going to notice it at all. But when it's done badly is when you notice it, or if you take it out altogether, it makes a scene feel dry. Um, I've definitely seen clips like online where they take a scene with the actual soundtrack on it and then play it again without the soundtrack, and it doesn't hit at all. It's crazy.
Really?
Yes.
That's actually yeah, because I'm trying to think about an instance where I saw one and it was like, oh, that. Oh, actually, no, I have it written down. The reality TV shows.
Hmm.
That's one of those things where, oh, not you wouldn't say that for Survivor, but for let's say like love shows, like Love Is Blind or Love Island. Oftentimes, the songs that they pick. First of all, I don't know who's singing these songs. Like the songs are some wackadoo filming the songs, and normally when it's done well, it's usually a song that I feel like it doesn't pertain to the specific scene. With the Love Island, it'll be like, okay, so she just got broken up with, and the song that plays immediately after is she just got broken up with. And it's like verbatim.
Okay, so they're having fun with the soundtrack in that
Yes.
way. They're on the nose.
They make the verbiage of the song exactly the same, and that makes me feel nothing. In fact, I actually just laugh.
It probably takes you out of it.
Yes.
In that case.
Yes, because you go from feeling bad about it, and then they play that stupid song right after, and you're like, oh, it's like cringe a little bit.
You know, any reality show like competition series like Survivor or American Idol or anything like that, pay attention when they do the backstory of the characters, the tragic backstories. They are so heavy-handed with the music, and I feel like they're emotionally manipulating you to feel something. I always cry in a backstory on Survivor, and I feel like it's just because
is it always
they,
the same song or
no, they use different
Okay.
songs for sure, but it's probably the same like music team that's scoring it because
Okay.
they're doing the same type of tricks. I think it's something that affects me for sure.
What's interesting is that you're saying that you noticed it there, but I have actually never noticed that in Survivor. I don't know if it's just reality TV show in general, but I can't tell you right now what they play or what kind of stuff they play for the tribal council.
Oh, are you kidding me?
No, I literally don't. It's the same song?
No. The
it's
Tribal Council has its own specific soundtrack. So as Gabby knows, I'm a Survivor super fan. So I'm noticing everything in Survivor because I'm looking for any clue to try to figure out what's going to happen next. Every Survivor Tribal Council, the second you get there, the music that starts playing is ooh waka waka, ooh shaka shaka.
Yeah, like
It's
a Hawaiian.
tribal
Yeah.
verbiage, speak whatever, ambient sound. So that's happening the whole time throughout the vote and the Tribal Council. I'm sure your fans love Survivor, huh?
Honestly, all five of y'all, I don't know if y'all watching Survivor.
Well, on that point though, have you seen in movies and TV shows where things get really intense and then they take all the sound out of it altogether, like for
I
one
have seen
dramatic
that.
scene?
Yes.
So that's like using the opposite effect. Like you don't notice that everything's being scored while you're watching it, especially in animation, let's say. And then when they actually remove all sound, it like has that bigger impact on you.
I feel like they do that a lot in action or like war. When there's a big war
Yes.
and like, or they love to do this actually. They'll launch a missile or a bomb, what? And then the person loses their hearing and it's like,
Yes. Yes.
and then everything is silent from there on out. And it's like showing it from like, I guess how they're hearing it.
Mm-hmm. That's a classic war movie
Yeah.
use. You're right. They do that in like Battle of the Bastards as well in Game of Thrones. I feel like there's a big
Yes.
sequence that follows Jon Snow, and I think they remove all the sound from it. Maybe not. They remove like the background sound, but you hear the clashing of the swords and stuff still, and like the stampeding of the horses.
It's like
like
muffled.
selective sound.
Yeah.
Sure.
For me, it affects me a lot. And I definitely have favorite soundtracks. Like, I know Interstellar is mentioned a lot. Interstellar soundtrack is like heartbreak. It's like heartbreaking for no reason, honestly. And then anything Game of Thrones, I love. But specifically the House Targaryen music. But even the House Stark music, that's really good. Like, I think his name is Rasheen something.
So you're identifying something I wasn't aware of. You're saying that whenever we like switch point of views to the different houses, there's a different like soundtrack
There is.
that plays.
They each have a so like House Stark, House Lannister, House Targaryen. All of the houses have a different theme song. The way that they also have a different sigil.
Interesting.
And the person that writes this is his name is like Rasheen something. But oh my god, I found him on Apple Music, and he just does orchestral scores. And my thing is, how are you thinking of it? Like, I feel like it's really powerful to be able to see something visually and be like, oh, I think it sounds like this. Like, I mean, I don't know how he's coming up with it.
That's something I have to go back and look out for because that makes sense to me. Like Star Wars does that with Darth Vader and stuff. Like that's a very common thing in media to have a theme attached to a group of people or a certain enemy. But I did not realize that Game of Thrones was doing that for the different houses.
Like, you know how whenever they show like a scene at Winterfell or whenever a Stark, they'll play like dun, na, 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 and it sounds kind of like Scottish. And
Okay.
then when they do the Targaryen, it's like when she's flying the dragon, it's like dun, na, na, na,
Interesting.
and then or it's like the queen of Jaehaerys or like the king of Jaehaerys is like in House of the Dragon specifically. It's like ha 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 ha.
Okay, that sounds familiar. I feel like I've heard that for sure.
And you just feel like, damn, I really want to rule. I was telling him the other day that I was like really sad that I couldn't have a dragon, but that's kind of irrelevant. So I guess the next topic we're going to talk about is how film has changed politically, socially, and emotionally with time. And we can talk about other examples, but the first example I have is Snow White because Snow White, I think it was the
Something like that.
1930s that it came out, the cartoon version.
Yeah, it's like one of the first animated like Disney movies, right?
Yeah. And Snow White was her only goal, I guess, was to find this prince. And I think in the movie she's like 14. But at the time, we were talking about this right before, is that was the goal. So I guess how do you think that that's changed through time, or what's an example, a counter example of that?
Well, as we discussed before, I realized while trying to think about this that I do not understand the plot of Snow White whatsoever.
Yeah, we were like, what happened?
I understand like the characters that are in it, like the dwarves and stuff like that, but I do not understand like what her goal is and what she's trying to do. But that's probably a reflection of the fact that it's just to get her romantic partner, right?
Mm-hmm.
To use a direct comparison, I think that Moana would be the reflection of the modern age, right? I think that there's a lot of examples, let's just say in Disney animated movies, there's a lot of examples of strong female characters, but some of them are received a little stronger than others. Moana is that slam dunk hit that I think majority of children and just audiences in general respond very well to Moana as like a strong female character. So she would be my comparison to reflect the modern age.
I think my comparison would be Merida, just because her whole thing was she doesn't want to be a queen, she doesn't want to be married. But I think this is interesting. Take Frozen, they put both types in the same movie, because Anna in the beginning is like obsessed with Hans and like actually meeting a prince or whatever. But Elsa's never shown in that light, ever. Actually, she's shown in a very depressive way, but she's shown more later on, I guess, in the second movie about her finding herself and just being content with herself. But she is never once shown with any entrance of finding a king.
That's interesting. I wasn't thinking about Frozen, but Frozen, because they have two female leads,
Yes,
they kind of get to run the gamut of expressing the female experience, huh? That's interesting. Elsa really, her entire plot is this film episode just a deconstruction of Disney female characters? Elsa, her internal struggles are what her plot is about, right? It's all about her emotionally coming to terms with her power and her identity in the first one. And then the second one really just explores that concept even further. It's just her about her embracing her true self. What is Anna's story in the second movie? Because I know in the first movie, it's kind of, first she thinks that she's, chasing after a man, and then she kind of moves beyond that and embraces the love of her sister and community. But what is her storyline in the second movie?
I actually think the second movie, it's like Anna's hardly in it.
She's on like a solo journey. I know there's like a song where she's like, take the next best step is the theming behind the song. Do you remember
I'll be
that?
honest, I didn't even like Frozen 2.
Oh, interesting.
Because here's just the thing. I don't like movies with really vague... This is also why I don't like Moana. I don't like movies that have a really vague purpose and plot. So Moana's was like, I need to find the what of the sea.
You have to return the heart of Tafiti.
What the fuck is the heart of Tafiti?
The stone, so that no more natural disasters will happen.
I don't remember any natural disasters ever happening. All I remember her is meeting a glittery fucking crab, him having a song, meeting Dwayne Johnson, and then she doesn't even like him, meeting that stupid rooster that like follows her around. And then she comes. It's too. It seems very spiritual, which for a animated film, which I don't really like. And I think the second one, the second Frozen is like that. The second Frozen is like when she finds that ghost horse. You know, you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
like
about?
the elemental spirit.
Yes, everything. Why is it so spiritual all of a sudden?
I might be with you on Frozen 2 because, at least compared to Frozen 1, like it is hard to recall some of the greater plot details of Frozen 2.
Mhm.
It's dealing with like a lost like sister city that's the other half of their kingdom.
Yes.
In defense of Moana, however, there is a strong plot there. Okay, she is told by her grandmother that she has to return the heart of Tafiti, which is like an elemental spirit thing. Sure. And along the way, she gets the help of Maui, a demigod, to do that.
Yeah.
And everyone's after the heart of Tafiti, even those little coconut people.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. So I thought it was just her.
The natural disasters stop happening once she returns them. So that is her goal throughout the whole time.
Okay, we can try and get into that all day, but how has Disney changed politically? I feel like Disney has done like a complete 180. Disney, in my opinion, in the past was not. Disney has always been good at keeping with the times. I think that's a consistent thing. But I don't think that Disney was that political prior to like 2010.
Okay, I think I have an idea about this. So I think that if you look at the timeline of Disney, for most of its run and what Disney became known for was creating these like magical, fantastical stories. They are bringing to life these like dream sequences, especially because they were on the cutting edge of animation early on. They are, for kids, you're watching Disney movie and you're in awe of like this fantastical world. And I think that was their priority while still telling like a heartfelt story at the center of it. But now that the animation industry is just burst wide open, you can pretty much do anything. You can't just get by on, impressing us visually anymore. You have to be telling a story that's concurrent with the current age. Disney in general, because it's such a big company, gets so much criticism, and so they're forced to try to be politically correct or have some type of strong political theming within their movies now, which is something that will never please everyone. So they're kind of stuck in this situation where they're trying to please everyone politically, but they never can, and it's never going to recapture some of that magic of the original Disney movies.
But also in times progressing, for example, films back then hardly ever, if not at all, showed a gay couple. And so Disney choosing to do that, I personally don't think that there's anything wrong with that, but it actually reflects, going back to Snow White, like her wanting to find the prince, it reflects a time where that's very normal and a lot of people have a problem with it, even though it's like a normal thing to see now, which I don't know. I don't think that should affect the movie at all. But
it's interesting how upset the internet is at Disney having a few gay couples in some of their movies. It's such a small, minor thing that does reflect society right now, but we act like it's this huge development.
No, and it's usually a side character. It's never like the main character that like, and even if it was, who cares? Like,
no, society hates to see Disney have the friend of the main character have two gay dads.
Yes.
It's insane.
So, no, I think that shows how it's changed at all. I don't know. I feel like it's changed more in the cartoon animation space as opposed to the, what would you call the real world space?
Live action.
Live action, yeah. That's
well, is Disney even making live action movies anymore?
Yes.
What's one that's come out recently? I can't think of one. Okay, besides live action Lilo and Stitch that came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, like that's the most.
Well, live action remakes are a whole category of Disney, of course, but just like live action movies.
The problem that people are having with them is that they're not making any new movies. They're just doing live actions of movies that already exist, and people don't want that, which, I mean, I do and don't understand, because I personally actually do like the live action movies, but most of my friends don't like the live action. I can understand it if they change the storyline, then I wouldn't like the live action, because then I'm like, okay, well then it's not a live action, just make it a new movie. But if the storyline's the exact same thing, like the one with the Little Mermaid, Cinderella, even Beauty and the Beast, I think it's cool to see it in person.
Oh, interesting. I think the live action like Disney remakes are a lose-lose situation for Disney because if it's the exact same thing, I'm personally not motivated to watch it.
Really?
I tried to watch The Little Mermaid. I was even excited to watch The Little Mermaid. I couldn't make it 15
I
minutes in.
went twice.
Oh wow. We are different people, you and I.
It's because the visuals are so in the live action. They're so much more appealing to see, and specifically, was it Halle Bailey? That's her name. Okay, like her voice was like a siren, which I think it fits the fact that she's a mermaid. Her voice was so good that I got emotional. Like when she was singing, I'm like, I'm watching this again. Going back to the music topic, like I
Okay.
actually think I mainly watched it because of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that well, the reason I say it's a lose lose, I see that that worked for you, and I can make an argument for if you love an animated piece of content and it's been so many years, seeing it adapted into live action just draws you into that fantasy even more. So I could see where that could be a good thing. But from what I see online and people getting upset at these live action remakes is if you do it one to one, it's creatively bankrupt. You know, you're there's no actual creativity going into this outside of the visual effects coordinators. And I sure the music is updated and everything, and you can make that sound good. But then if you make too many changes, now you're corrupting what was a perfect piece of
Yeah.
media. How dare you change the story that we love so much? I don't even know which one I would prefer to see. I would just rather see a new. If Disney's gonna pour billions of dollars into a movie, I'd rather it be an original piece of content than just a reskinning of something I enjoyed back in the past.
Okay, so then what's the difference between that and then a book that turned into a movie or a show? Because, I mean, that happened with Game of Thrones, that happened with Harry Potter, that happened with Twilight. One is a movie, two Hunger Games. What would you say, I guess, is the appeal there?
Well, one, you're adapting something that was already a visual medium, let's say the original Little Mermaid,
Hmm.
and now you're adapting it to a different kind of visual medium, right? You're not changing any of the dialogue, you're not changing any of the things, you're just reanimating it essentially, or reacting it, let's say. At least from a book to a movie or a show, you're translating literature into a visual medium. So you have to make creative choices that feel adaptive.
Okay.
One feels like an adaptation, one feels like a copy.
Okay. Yeah. That being said, though, I mean, a lot of people that read these books and watch these movies, when they read the books and then watch the movies, they complain that like it's never fully done correctly.
Mm.
Um, I think I think if you've never read the book and you've only seen the movie, you probably think it's a masterpiece because you don't know what you don't know.
Hmm. That's true. Yeah, that's always interesting when The Wheel of Time is a book series that I read recently, and it had 3 seasons on Amazon Prime. And there is a huge difference between people that read the books and then watch the show and think that the show is terrible, and people who have never read the books and they watch the show and they love it. So that is an interesting difference that can happen in that adaptation space. Overall, I think the moral of the story is let's just make some more original content. Or do we think that are we running dry on original content to potentially make?
Well, I think that goes into our next topic about like whether or not the film industry is overly saturated. Do Are people having a hard time with coming up with new concepts for a film that either weren't already made or are relatable? Because I feel like a lot of people look for when you're watching a film, you get a certain emotion out of it and you're looking for a relatable character. You're looking for a situation to relate to. And I feel like there's a movie and a for everything and a show for everything.
That's interesting. I mean, on one hand, I see what you're saying. Like, especially with the streaming era, there are so many streaming services and different studios that are just pumping out so many movies every year that it feels like we're kind of rinse and repeating a lot of those topics and conversations. As much content is out there, as much like as oversaturated as it does feel, I am still consuming stories on a regular basis that feel completely fresh and new to me. There is plenty out there, and my general faith in humanity and creativity in general is that we will be able to continue thinking up crazy stories or even smaller stories that have a unique point of view on the human experience.
Whenever I've seen something new, it's usually so low budget that it's so trash to watch. Like that something that you think, "Oh, this is such a good idea,"
Hmm.
but the execution of it was terrible. Like if a really big company with a lot of money bought it and they had all the effects in the world, probably would have been a good idea.
So this gets into an interesting distinction, though, because I don't think that the oversaturation is why we can't think of new ideas. I think it's like a Hollywood problem that unique and original ideas don't get the budget or creative output to see it come through.
That's true.
I think that if everyone who had a cool, interesting, original idea had the resources to put that into effect, we would have endless creative, awesome content. But I do think that the big budgets go to revivals and renewals of old stuff that we've been seeing for years now.
I think this pivots a good way into how cinema experiences in the movies have changed. I think post COVID, it definitely took a turn because obviously during the pandemic, people weren't watching movies, so you couldn't even go. But then after people were able to go again, it's almost like either they didn't want to or the stuff that the movie theaters were putting out was so bad that it's like you didn't want to pay to watch it. A lot of people don't go to the movies now. And I feel like I haven't had a good cinematic experience in since before the pandemic actually.
Yeah, and this is something I think about a lot, and there's so many reasons that lead to this, but it's so true, and I think it all does revolve around 2020. If you zoom out a little bit, pre 2020, the movie industry was like at an all time high. I don't know if it was the highest it's ever been
Really?
before, but yeah, I was so in 2019, I was working as a bartender at the dine-in theater at Disney Springs, and in that year, so many big movies released. This is when Marvel was at an all-time high, but it was before people thought it was too much.
When did
This is
Endgame come out?
that was in 2020.
Endgame? No, no, no.
Endgame came out in 2020.
Before the pandemic or after?
Yeah,
Was it
before the
that I might be
pandemic.
confusing it with Infinity War because that was before. And I remember that being a big thing about who's gonna go see it, and everybody was gonna go see that.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, after Endgame for Marvel, that's when everyone kind of a lot of people left Marvel and coincidingly stopped going to the movies in general as well. But that just as an example of some of the movies that were coming out that year. Black Panther came out that year as well. That might have been 2019. I'm not exactly sure, but um, the suffice to say that the movie industry was alive and well. I saw it. All of my friends were still going to the movies. That's when Jordan Peele started putting out some great movies. People were still going to the movies, even though the streaming side of things was putting that in danger because now all of a sudden you have all these movies you could be watching at home. It takes some of the fun out of going and spending money and spending time going to see movies when you could just watch it at home, right? So that's a big reason of it as well. But you're right. Once the pandemic hit and people got used to seeing movies at home, that's when people really decided, why would I go to the movie theater at that point?
That just because streaming services exist and you have that easier option to stay in and watch a movie, that's so boring. Like, I mean, it has nothing to do with convenience for me. It has more to do with like think about how many dates people used to go on, like, oh, let's go to the movies. That was a really common thing, and you could make it a whole thing. Oh, we'll go eat and then we'll go to the movies, or we'll go to the movies and then we'll eat, and then it was an experience. But now it's like I wouldn't pay for the experience if the movie was so bad that it's like it would literally not even be worth it to go. Because for that, for example, think about the movie It Ends With Us. Did you see it?
Nope.
Okay. You know it's a book, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm familiar with it.
After I was when it first came out, I thought about going to watch it. I have never read the books precisely for the reason that there were already a lot of people that didn't really fuck with the books like that. But when it came out, I was like, okay, like this is a good excuse for me to just go see the movie and like kind of see what it's about before I even read the book. And I think the first week that the movie came out, it got such bad reviews, such bad rep, and I'm like, why is this movie so bad? And then the memes that I would see online of the movies, of the outfits, of just making fun of all aspects of the movie, I'm like, okay, I'm not seeing this. Later on, I think like maybe like not even a month after, Netflix put it on their thing, and I watched it from there, and I was like, yeah, this isn't a movie that I would have paid to go watch. I would have been like really dissatisfied, especially how the movie ends. Oh my God, it's like very inconclusive and underwhelming.
So this made me think of so many so many things, honestly. But I think you're right. They going to the movies is an experience, right? Because of COVID, everyone got used to sitting on their couch and watching movies at home, and even more so as like a counter offer to sitting at home and watching a movie, that going to the movies is an experience even more so, and so you want it to be worth your time. I will say, before the pandemic, there were so many more movies in theaters at any given point, and most of them were bad, and people were willing to see bad movies. The bar has maybe risen because of cinematography getting so well or so good that you're unwilling to see a movie that might be bad, right? And because the internet is so together now, if you hear that a movie is bad, that can spread so quickly.
And people don't want to watch it.
Yeah, if I hear that the general consensus is that movie was bad, I don't want to go spend money to go see it. Movies are also expensive nowadays.
Oh my! No, I was gonna actually mention that, like how like ticket prices have gone up to like not even want you. But remember, bro, going back to the live action, the Snow White live action, that shit did terrible.
No, and I was maybe willing to go watch it, but then every single person that saw it just said it was so bad. Why would I waste my time? And as opposed to once it hits streaming, now that's a funny thing for me and my wife to watch at home because we can make fun of it. But I'm not gonna go pay $20 plus another $20 in popcorn and spend hours of my life to go see something that's bad.
I think that everything in that movie, I didn't even watch it, but I saw the trailer. Everything in that movie was bad. From the person they picked for Snow White, don't think she like resonated Snow White. The songs that they picked, which going back to the whole if they change the story thing, then is it really a live action remake? That was different. And then instead of using real dwarves as the dwarves, or like small people, I don't know what you would call them, they used CGI dwarves and they looked really bad. Like it looked like Shark Boy Lava Girl dwarves. So the whole thing was just undesirable. I think it's on Disney Plus now, and I haven't even watched it.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it had. I think it got the lowest IMDb rating in history. It has like a 1.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be seeing that movie anytime soon unless it's like to kind of make fun of it. But then, of course, Lilo and Stitch came out right after. I also heard that was bad, but that like broke records for Disney. It sold really well.
Oh, so it did well?
It did really well financially. Families went to go see it. Like financially, it's a major success. And I think the ad campaign for that is great, especially compared to the Snow White one.
Yes, 100%.
Like it looks good. I've heard that it is bad, but...
It's bad, but it's good.
Yeah, I don't know.
So we talked about like what the difference between watching something at home versus in the movie theater was, and how I guess people kind of decide that.
Wait, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Before we get into that, I have another complaint about movie theaters. I cannot stand how disgusting they are. And after a movie theater, they have like one employee who's supposed to clean the entire theater in 10 minutes. So have you ever seen what it's like under those theater seats?
No. I mean, I hate putting my hand through the thingy.
Yes. So recently I dropped my phone on the floor, like under the seat, which is like my absolute nightmare, especially for a germaphobe. I am a germaphobe. So I had to grab my wife's phone, use her flashlight, and like look for my phone under there. And it was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. A whole sticky layer with like stuck popcorn, change, things that you could not pick up if you wanted to. I'm scared if I left my phone there for 5 minutes, it would be stuck there forever.
I mean, but think about it. They don't have the time to deep clean the theater before every movie.
No, they don't. Theaters would need to invest in like genuine like sanitation teams in order to do this and make it happen. Or you would have to invest in the actual structure of the theater, like being conducive to not having those spaces under the seats where that can happen.
Yeah.
But even on a micro level, when I sit in the theater, sometimes there's popcorn on the seat. There's random trash stuff between the cushions all around me. Overall, as a germaphobe, they're just not inviting me to want to spend time in a theater.
You know what's the kicker is actually paying to go watch a movie theater with a recliner seat. And actually, this happened to me twice where the recliner seat button wouldn't work. And I'm like, dog, I literally came to this movie theater so that I could kick up my feet. And then I'm like, and it's like, doesn't work.
Hot take. I think recliner seats in movie theaters were a bad idea, and I'm upset that we can never go back.
No, okay. Well, actually, yes and no, because I think ever since the recliner seats, I fall asleep almost every single time.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say.
It's so comfy.
If the recliner seats are too good, they get the dim lightings. It's cold in there. It gets me too comfortable, and I fall asleep. I need to be leaned into the theater or into the movie that I'm watching. You know what I mean?
Well, then just don't push the button the next time.
Oh, no, I can't help myself.
Like if I'm paying for it, then I might as well.
Also, have you been in a theater and it's like a really intense scene, and then the person next to you, you hear the as
I
they recline their
fucking
seat?
hate that. It's always in a quiet ass scene. Like you couldn't wait until like the bomb exploded or like the music started playing. It'll be like, bro, actually the worst experience that I've ever had with this is The Quiet Place.
Are you serious?
That movie, we were like and like I literally said to my friend like next to me, I'm like, we would have fucking been killed by now with all the people like, and then they're munching loud. You can hear them opening their popcorn. Like we would have been killed. The Quiet Place.
We need more movies like The Quiet Place that invite you as an audience member to like do something fun and like, because I don't know if that was your mindset going in, but it was my goal to be as quiet as possible throughout the entire movie. That was like a challenge of mine.
I mean, I didn't think of it like that, but I thought that I had to be because the movie was so silent that at any given point I could have ruined it because I did that. So like I would actually purposely stay in an uncomfortable position to avoid the sound because the movie was so quiet.
No, I think that's something that most people experienced in that movie, and that's like a movie that should happen in theaters. It should be experienced in theaters because it's so tense that it draws you in so much that you are like challenged along with the characters to be quiet during those scenes.
I don't even like that movie, but we ain't even going to get into that. So, last few things I guess to conclude this podcast are, what is a film that changed your life?
A film that changed my life. Well, I already mentioned one that comes to mind, and that is Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah, the one you watched
It's
by
not even
yourself.
the best movie I've ever watched. It is a very good movie, and I would recommend it. But it changed my life because it taught me. I learned from that movie that there are these types of movies that are very, the artsy fartsy ones that make you lean in and think about the layers of context on the movie, and it launched me into enjoying the type of movies that I like to watch today. Another one that was certainly life changing would be Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I think I have heard of that.
Yeah, it came out more recently, 2022. I'm pretty sure
Is that on Netflix?
it is on Netflix right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's filmed by the Daniel brothers, which are like a directing duo that I like a lot. It's another one where I went into the movie not knowing anything about it. I don't know what to expect at all. I saw it alone in theaters as well. I cried, I laughed, and I had a very transformative experience watching that one for sure.
For me, I'd say The Pursuit of Happiness had a very big impact on me when I watched it.
Did you see that in theaters?
I didn't.
Okay, I was gonna say you were like way too young.
No, I didn't. My dad was the one that showed it to me because he loves that movie, and I watched it with him. It's with Will Smith and his kid, and it's basically it's based on a true story, which I find movies that are based on true stories I love. Like I actually have a really high emotional. I think knowing that it happened to someone in real life is just relatable, and I like that. But that movie, it has changed my whole outlook on life because every time I watch it, I think that guy had those set of circumstances against him. He was homeless, he was going through a divorce, and he had a 3 or 4-year-old son doing all that. They were homeless together, and not once did this man give up. In fact, he just spent all this time studying. He was doing like a finance internship. That man now is he's a multi-millionaire. He's close to a billionaire, and he changed his life. And I just always think that if he could do it, then I could do it with my set of circumstances because I don't have it bad at all compared to that guy. So that movie changed the way I look at life. Every time I actually think I can't do something, I actually think of that movie.
Is that the overall beauty of movies in general, and why they exist so prevalently in our society right now? It's the same way that we used to tell stories around a fire, back in the day, before movies existed, obviously. They tell these strong stories that act as like a guidepost for inspiration for us to kind of aspire towards. They do all the big flashy stuff, like the Marvel movies. Those are fun and everything. But when a movie is best, it's inspiring you and giving you motivation on how to move forward within your life.
I think that goes into my next question, which was what makes a good film versus a great film.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a subjective conversation on a small level because there's all types of films. There's the films that, Pursuit of Happiness is going to make me feel inspired to work hard moving forward and have empathy for people struggling, right? That's like an important message that it has. But I'm not knocking a fun comedy movie like let's say Grown Ups 1, you know, like
Like they're not comparable on the same level. Is what you're
yes.
saying.
At the end of the day, like the small answer would be any movie that I have a good time watching and I forget about the time or what's happening outside of the circumstances inside that theater or on my couch is a good movie, because that's the goal of a movie. It's to for you as a viewer to jump into this world or this story and kind of forget about your troubles and maybe walk away with something. So whether that's a comedy, a drama, or an inspiring movie, as long as it's done that goal, then it's a good movie.
I think what makes a great movie, in my opinion, is that inspirational aspect. Is if I walk out of there, or even my house, like if I walk out of finishing that movie and I feel fundamentally changed, I have a different outlook of life, I start actually questioning things. I think that makes a great movie because you oftentimes think of movies as entertainment. They're supposed to be entertaining, but if it can do both, it's it's life changing. And I think that's what makes a great movie. Like this doesn't apply to me, this movie, but The Shawshank Redemption to me was like a life changing movie.
Interesting. What takeaway did you take? Because I think that's a great movie, but I don't know that I would feel like it would affect me emotionally. What takeaways did you have from that movie?
Well, I wouldn't say that it affected me emotionally. I would just say that I started thinking about the fact that there are a lot of people in prison that are convicted wrongfully.
Okay.
And I started thinking there's people right now that are in prison innocently living out their lives. And Andy, the main character, decided to make the best of it by making the prison better and teaching other people how to read, teaching, all these things. And then the cool aspect of the movie, which is like when you're watching it for the first time and you're not expecting, is the fact that he escapes prison.
Right.
Which, watching it for the first time, like, holy shit, like I'm not expecting that at all. But you know that he's innocent and you just feel so bad. And then you also feel bad for the people who are in the prison. They deserve to be there, but they're good people, like the old man that committed suicide at the end of the movie. Like he couldn't adjust to life after he went out of the prison, and that shit broke my heart because I'm just like, is it possible that it's like that for some people today? Like, how long do you have to be in prison for it to be not even worth wanting to leave? I don't know. So I started thinking about that and just the whole structure of the movie. Emotionally, though, that changed my life. The Green Mile.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh my god!
As we're talking about this, that didn't have that effect on me, but I feel like that movie affected so many.
Dude, I was both traumatized and sobbing. My mom, every single time she watches that movie, she's sobbing on the couch.
Wow.
It's one of her favorite movies, though.
Hmm.
But I think I watched it too young because I remember the rapist, and I was like actually afraid of that guy coming into my room and like taking me. She showed me that movie way too early.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, it should not have affected me like it did.
But hey, it sticks with you to today, right? I mean, you got to get in on that impressionable age.
The acting is so good, and then in that movie, I did like the spiritual aspect of it. That it's weird because it's a very realistic movie, but then they add that like sprinkle of what is it, fiction, or like not realism, and it's like. I don't know. I think they did a really good job with that.
So, not to get on a tangent and make this go too long, but this is making me think of like what are the different genres of movie where if it's executed to the best of its ability, what is like the primary outcome of that movie? So something that's inspiring, like Pursuit of Happiness, let's say, that can change your point of view, that can like give you a life lesson on society, right? What's the best takeaway you can get from a romantic movie? Or a romantic comedy, like how to treat your loved ones?
No, I'm fucking delusional because for me, it's like now I have to find the perfect guy. Like now for me,
romantic movies might be more harming to your societal expectation and like how romance is supposed to feel.
Yes, dude. Because for me, I remember my past relationships. I would come out of a fucking romantic movie and I think about everything my partner wasn't. It was so toxic. I'd be
wow.
You're not doing what Edward's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing what Peta. Like I would watch that, and for me. The romance movies would set the example about what a relationship should be like.
Mm-hmm.
And I would want it to be like that so badly. And then when it wasn't, I was disappointed, or I thought that maybe it was a wrong person or something.
Yeah. Now that I'm diving into this, like I didn't have my first real relationship till I was 20 years old, right? But growing up, and I loved movies. I was a romantic, honestly. I am a romantic. And watching these like romantic comedies and like the banter that they would have and this like energy and connection definitely made me fantasize about what being in love would be like, to honestly an unhealthy level. Like, to the point where
Yes.
I was like, I need my relationship now. Like, why isn't this happening?
Or you need it to be exactly like that, or if it's not like that, then it's not good enough or worth
No,
it.
in reality, it's not like that. I mean,
No.
I have an awesome love story myself, and it feels very romantic and maybe romanticized. But no, movies are going to set you up to feel underwhelmed when you actually find your person. Actually,
Romantic movies. At
yes,
least, yeah.
yes. Or what about comedies though? A great comedy can make you really get like a sense of optimism about the world. I think that a good comedy movie, like if you're feeling pessimistic about where the world is politically or something like that, if you go and see a great comedy movie and it just gets you in that good mood, it's like medicine.
Okay,
in
so
that
what's
way.
like a popular example?
Have you seen Superbad?
No.
That's upsetting.
No. But I knew you were gonna say something that I hadn't seen. Like I want something like stereotypical.
Okay.
Well, what I was gonna say is that for me, whenever I see a comedy movie, I don't really feel any type of way.
Is that not a genre of movie that you connect with as much as others?
I don't, and that's why I avoid. Like I don't like shows that are comedies, because oftentimes I don't think that the show's funny, and I feel like I can't relate to the character because the whole point is that they're trying to be funny, but I don't get to know them on a personal level. Don't get me wrong, like there's a lot of comedy movies that I like. Like one of my favorite comedy movies is Blended.
Okay.
I love Blended. I love that movie, but I think I like it because there's also that romantic aspect of it. So I think it's a rom-com actually.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. And most comedies are doubling as something, right? They
Yeah.
could be like the action comedy, romantic comedy. Like the action comedies are going to be like the Kevin Hart and Dwayne the Rock Johnson ones.
Oh,
Uh,
Jumanji. I love Jumanji.
See,
And
that
that's
one
more-
doesn't do it for me as much.
Really? I
Yes,
think that
we
one's
are
really
the
funny.
opposite person as it comes to film. I'm learning.
Yeah.
Okay, another good one. I can't remember it. We can move on to the next topic.
Okay.
Can't remember what else
Okay.
I was going to say.
I think I'll end with this question. If you could direct or write a film, what story would you want to tell?
Well, I'm a big anime nerd, so there's tons of stories in my head that I feel like I would want to tackle, but it's often through the perspective of anime. So if I'm being honest, probably like an animated action adventure would be the type of story that I would want to tackle.
So you would do an anime.
I would do an anime or animation, something in the animation space, something fantastical. Maybe there's superpowers involved. Beyond that, if it was going to be grounded, it would be like definitely an action movie, but maybe like a heist driver kind of movie, like Baby Driver.
Okay.
Not action in the sense of too much fighting or explosions, jumping off buildings, but something that's action but grounded into something more specific, like Baby Driver is, as like a driving movie kind of thing.
So before I say what I was going to say, because I'm not sure if I have the definition right, what is a memoir?
A memoir. I would only know it in a novel sense. I wouldn't know it in like a film sense, but a memoir, to my knowledge, because I might barely know the definition as well. It's someone. If I were to write a memoir and I was like 60 years old, these are the lessons I've learned in my life that define me,
Okay.
and I'm passing on that information.
Then that's not what I was going to talk about. Have you seen the movie? I think it's called either Boy or Boyhood.
I feel like I've heard of it. I definitely haven't seen it.
Okay,
though.
so that movie is the longest movie ever filmed because they took this little boy. I think he was like maybe 5 or 6 when they started, and they finished the movie when he was like in his 30s. And as he would grow, they would film certain aspects, and then the whole film is a compilation of his life and things that happened in his life, both with his parents, getting a first girlfriend.
And it was just a random dude?
Yes, a random boy.
Okay, it was just like a specific study.
Well, I guess, but like I think that what the movie was just trying, it was literally called Boyhood, so in the sense of just trying to showcase, like, there's nothing special about it, just trying to showcase the ups and downs of life, and they did so in a way that they kept the actor the same, so you felt like you were growing with this guy, but that movie took like 30 years to film, and then they'd compile that stuff. I always remember that movie, and to answer the question what I would want to tell is maybe not necessarily my life. I feel like if I became really successful, I would want to do that, where it was like I got to film different aspects of somebody or my life growing up just like that, and then showcasing how life can be good at some points, bad at some points, constantly. Like, it's never always going to be good. It's never always going to be bad. And you're almost guaranteed another good outcome and another bad outcome. And I liked how they did it with him because of that growing up aspect with the same person.
Was this like a documentary? Was it a real person or was there a narrative? Like, was it written?
I mean, I think it's considered a documentary, but it's I don't know if they did it with the purpose of it being like his life. Like, it's still fiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this sounds like a fascinating like subgenre of movies that should exist of
Yeah.
like actually following people throughout their whole life or checking in every 5 years or something
And
like
then
that.
they'd film another scene. Like, after a few years, they would film another scene. Like, you know, and I remember specifically like when his parents got divorced and him going through that, and I could relate to that as someone who has divorced parents, and I have vivid memories of my life during that time, and I'm like, it would be cool to see a film of me as a child going through these momentous occasions, but not just it being all bad, because that's not what the movie did. I feel like it did a good job of doing both, but yeah. And then the movie ends with like literally him, like he's like I think they stopped filming when he was in his like late 30s or something. Like, he's a grown man, he has a life, and I think he has a wife, and then it's like done. But they could have continued it realistically up until he was like an old man and he dies.
I want to see what happens when he hits his midlife crisis. This sounds really interesting and I want to watch it,
Yeah.
honestly.
So, okay. Well, unless you have anything else to add.
I don't think so. I think the lesson here today is go to the movies.
I don't know if I got that from this conversation, but definitely an interesting one. So thank you all for tuning into this episode of the Vitamin C Show, and we'll see you next week. Well, next Wednesday with the next one.
Yeah, again, my name is Darius Cook, and Gabby will link all of my beautiful social medias in
Yes,
in the description. So if you like what you heard, come and check out my stuff.
For sure. See ya. Peace. Okay, so then we could get into this all day, actually. You want to try and use the fan and see if that helps?
Yeah, let's see. I'm being plagued by flies right now. All right. Oh my gosh, these flies are eating me alive.
Sorry, I know. They came from Maki
Ugh.
to follow you.
I am trying to be focused, but when one is like sitting on my eyelash, it drives me crazy.
I'm putting that as the blooper.
The flies are insane. Okay. The mental warfare is crazy. And you're not getting any of them, huh? You need to stay on, pal. Okay. These flies just hang out on my face.
Yeah, I guess.
It's my banana, probably.
Yeah. I have so much to say about that, actually.
Get these flies away from me.
Follow the sun, rail flies.